work, I discovered that it would, and I don't know how anyone at 19 does this, but it was just too much. The clinic I was volunteering at had a lot of stroke patients, and I was like, I couldn't come home and shake that. I didn't have the maturity, and I just didn't have the right makeup to be able to help people that have had some pretty horrible things happen to them and not have that permeate my whole life.
Right.
And so I switched to medical records because I was like, maybe I don't want to be, I still want to be in the medical field, but I'm going to go behind the scenes. So ended up going to school, and through some connections, it's a long story, rather than getting a medical records job out of school, I got a job at a small company in Michigan, well, about 10,000 employees, I guess that's not small, at a company in Midland, Michigan, doing computer support. So I was a Microsoft Office specialist, was my first job. And that was, I had worked there as a student, and when I worked there as a student, I got really good with Microsoft Office. So when a job opened up in IT to work on Microsoft Office, I jumped into it.
But then you had that feeling, don't keep your day job.
I took it. And actually, in doing support in IT, there is room for creativity and art. One of my favorite things to do was to write user instructions. So we had some people that's all they did was do user communications. But when we had deployments, I got to do testing and writing of user instructions. And you might not think, well, that's not that creative because it's how you do it. But I really enjoyed figuring out how to simplify some different, with software, sometimes there'll be 100 ways to do the same thing. Right. Figure out which way we wanted to document, and getting the screen prints was, that's kind of fun.
But you left the job recently, you said?
Yeah, so that's where I started out doing Microsoft Office support, and then over the 20 years in the field, so I did software support, and then when I left that company, I went to a startup that was actually a medical records startup that looked at doing medical records on PDAs, which now is just you would think that's just how it is, but in the early 2000s, that was very innovative. And then I spent the last about 12, 13 years at Cisco doing project management jobs with around social directory or corporate directory and a lot of things around the business end of the laptop management. It was a great career. I loved it, especially working at Cisco. The people were wonderful. The flexibility was wonderful. But the last couple of years, I just couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to do something different. And a poor group of girlfriends that local here had to hear me all the time. I just feel like I need a change, but I don't know what. And their little voice kept nagging me, but I kept pushing it away because I was like, the job's flexible, it pays well. Just stay in there, keep your day job, Kristen, just go with it. And I started kind of poking around internally in the company. And I just got to the point last summer, I was like, I am acting. The people are great. It's a great company, but I have to make a change.
Well, we'll go into this collecting of Halloween items now, because it's all ties in, I'm sure. But you've been doing this for about as long as you were working in IT. Is that about right?
Yeah.
20 years?
Yeah. So we already talked about that. I don't remember not loving Halloween, and I can't give you a reason. It's just there.
Yeah.
And I can't take it out. And I love Halloween so much that I think about it every single day of the year. I'm not kidding.
Can't blame you.
I'm not kidding. And it might just be 30 seconds, but it happens. But I told you that I, since childhood, have thought I've just been also attracted to miniatures. I just think they're so magical. I think it came from a couple of things. If you go to the art, I forget the name of it, but it's the big art institute in Chicago. They have a dollhouse exhibit, and it was, I think, the 1920s actress Colleen Moore has this like big dollhouse. And when she passed away or when she got older, she gifted it to the Chicago Art Museum. And it's a castle and it is magical. So I must have saw that at, some impressionable time. And I became obsessed with that. Of course, I went to the gift shop and had to buy the book that had all the pictures. And then in Frankenmuth, Michigan, which is a like German kind of town, it's a wonderful town in Michigan. It actually has the world's largest Christmas store. But they had a miniature shop there. So I would go there and just obsess. So kind of leading into that love of miniatures, I got attracted to the Department 56 Halloween Village. And if you have Department 56 makes a lot of villages. They have like a Dickens look and different Christmas looks. And I don't even know how long it's from the 80s or 90s, how long it's been around. But they put out these little ceramic, like light up Halloween houses. And they're like little haunted houses and like mausoleums. And they're like, they have so many things now over the years that they've been putting them out. You could fill a warehouse. Yeah. And I started collecting those. And it was about the same time I got married. So this would have been about 2000, 2001. Okay. And I loved them. And my birthday's in August, so I'd always ask for the Department 56 stuff and grow my village. And I would go on eBay to find like things that were retired and you couldn't find in the store, or things I had and wanted to see like, ooh, how much is this worth? And somehow, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but looking in eBay, I started to stumble upon original Halloween art. So somehow in these searches, these were coming up, and I was just like, wow, that's really cool. And before that, I liked art and appreciated it, but it wasn't to the level of obsession. And I started following some of the artists. And I remember one of the very first pieces I got was a hand-painted bowl from an artist, Carol Lee Clark. And it's so vivid. It has black cats in it. It's just magical. And that was it. Like that tore open the doors. And back then there was like user groups on eBay. And one of the artists had put together this eclectic Halloween artist guild or group. And it was on eBay, and they would put that tag in their auctions. So if you saw that, you knew that was a juried group of Halloween artists, and you could search on that tag and find lots of really cool Halloween art. So I have eBay to thank also for opening the door.
And you would go to Halloween art shows. I didn't even know that was a thing.
It is a thing. So I had to look it up before we got on the call, because I couldn't remember. But this was before I was into the community. But there was a show in, I think it was Petaluma, but don't quote me, but near wine country, north of San Francisco in California, that was founded in 1996, called Halloween and Vine. And this show was fantastic, like top of the line, like Halloween fine art, and it got national press. Well, somehow between like that getting national press and me going online on eBay searching out original one-of-a-kind Halloween art, I read about or found Halloween and Vine. And let me tell you, working for Cisco, they have their major presence is in San Jose, California. So there was 2 years I was able to time a business trip right around the same time as Halloween and Vine.
It was meant to be.
Yes, it was meant to be. And so I was able to, go out to California on the company dime, but I did pay for all the Halloween stuff on my own. Yeah. And then go up to Halloween and Vine. And that, going from seeing it online and collecting it online to going in person and seeing all these, like, Halloween collectors are rabid. They're crazy. Yes. They're wonderful. They're nice people. They're so enthusiastic. To see all these, like, enthusiastic collectors and all these talented artists in one place, it really, if you're kind of not that into it and you go to and you witness that, it like sucks you in. So I was like sucked in, and it was so cool to me because I was like, wow, these are the artists that I've met online or seen their things online, and here they are, and they were very nice. So I was glad. Halloween in Vine has now, the founders have kind of gone and started different shows. So there's a lot of there's some national level shows in California now. There's an All Hallows Art Fest, and there's another one called A Bewitching Fete, and there's also a big show in St. Augustine, Florida called Spellbound, one in the Seattle area called Hullabaloo. But the one I can tell you the most about started in 2007 is Ghoultide Gathering. So Scott Smith, one of the co-founders and one of the co-producers of that Halloween in Vine, I don't know the complete story, but I guess I don't know, maybe he got sick of going out to California when he lived in Michigan. But he started his own show called Ghoultide Gathering in 2007. And, oh, how convenient. It's 2 hours from my parents' house. So as soon as I saw that marketed and advertised, I was like, well, I guess I go see family in Michigan, and this particular date in September. And the first year of that show in 2007, it was in Michigan can be weird in the fall. It can be like moderate. It can be cold, but that day was hot. It was a very hot day, and I remember I took my mom and my sisters, and I was just like in heaven, like seeing all this Halloween art. And I remember my mom and sister was like, "It's too hot in here. We'll be outside waiting for you." But after that 2007, I have gone every year except for the year I was too pregnant to go in 2009. And it has grown. I think I'd have to go dig out the program, but I think that first year he probably had about 15 artists, and he had an author. And Scott Smith, about 3 years ago, retired from producing the show. He still makes his art, but he transferred the love and care of the show over to a couple named Joe and Jenny Hepler-Takens. And she rebranded it Bewitching Peddlers of Halloween. So she's had that, I think, hopefully I'm not getting my last 3 or 4. It's been 3 or 4 years. And the current location of the show is now in Marshall, Michigan. And I think she has about 60 vendors now. And it's incredible. Like, I can't even describe it adequately. Like, you can look at the pictures, but a lot of times when you go in art shows, it's like the artists like set up their stuff and it's awesome, and they have like tables or like tents, which they do, but each of the artists almost creates like their own world. So you like walk in, you almost feel like you're going different places. Like you'll walk in their booth, they'll have like a tent and they'll have stuff all over, and so it's not just like beautiful things on a table. Each booth is its own experience, and I kind of feel bad for the artists, because not only do they have to haul their stuff in, but then they have to think about how they're going to do this wonderful presentation too. And the talent, and like I said, I'm not just talking about Bewitching Peddlers of Halloween, but any of these national level shows, the talent at these shows is incredible. And the variety, because you might think like, oh, Halloween art, like what is that? Some like jack-o'-lanterns and ghosts. It's like crazy, the things you see and the different influences and things available, and the people that curate these shows make sure they get a good mix of different things. And there's dolls and hats and beads and just
miniatures, I'm guessing.
It's in what? Miniatures,
I'm guessing, right?
And all the things, and then really big things too.
That's the way to do it. So you do travel to these shows, and you do travel to other famous Halloween places, such as Anoka. Is that how you say it? Anoka, Minnesota?
Yeah. So I love travel, and I think, if you're going to travel places, it's good to do it with things you love. So I'm the kind of person that in the fall, I always want to try to plan some trips to do different things that are special to the fall, and different places that do really cool Halloween or fall things. So and I look back at this and I'm kind of like, I think I was a little nuts, because I had wanted to go to Anoka, Minnesota ever since I read somewhere that it was the Halloween capital of the world. Like, enough said. Like,
of course.
I'm going. And And I also have a pen pal that was a pen pal from childhood that lives in the area. So I thought, oh, okay.